As we all know, no two students are alike, which raises the question of diversity. The need to respect said diversity can often complicate things short term, but eases your teaching long term as it enriches our classroom. These days, there have been many advances in the field of diversity around the world. For example, the term integration is replaced by the term inclusion, due to the fact that it better communicates the ideals it has to represent. The educational model that my teammates are about to introduce is based on a new understanding of education that contains new characteristics like flexible multi-age groups with the formation of friendships and social skills, and the new holistic and constructivist perspective. An inclusive education implies that all students learn together, regardless of their origin, home life, their social or cultural standing, including those with learning disabilities. All students receive an individualized study plan, not just the special needs students. This model understands that all students are different, thus achieving a plural and diverse perspective. This subject has been in development since 1948 with the Declaration of Human Rights, and has been perfected ever since in different ways, like for example in the Convention of the Rights of the Child in 1989 or the UNESCO report in 1996, all the way to the present day. All this work led to one common proposition: the fulfillment of the basic needs of learning.
Taking these philosophical and political matters into account, as well as the concept community in both a wide social and educational sense, given by several authors such as Licona, Flynn, Steinbach, and Jackson, it can be claimed that the main two principles of inclusive education are acceptance from the community and respect for the differences and acknowledgement of diversity. All these authors believe it's essential to have a clear idea of what's a community. For instance, Flynn believes it's a group of people who communicate with one another with honesty and whose relationships go beyond appearances, as they are committed to work together. Meanwhile, Steinbach and Jackson believe it's necessary to know what they consist of so they can be fostered at schools. The most inclusive ones are the ones based on support among all the other values that shape them, while they keep fulfilling their educational needs. Both ideas are quite similar to Licona's, who identifies it with a feeling of belonging, acceptance, and support within a group of people in which everyone cares for everyone else while they respect them and share their own responsibilities. As for the respect of differences and the acknowledgement of diversity, it is compulsory to understand the cultural and pedagogical aspects of diversity, which is the main truth behind inclusive education and what gives meaning to it. Furthermore, this is a right that everyone should be granted. Of course, inclusive schools have many goals. First, we need to provide the students with everything they need so they can fully integrate themselves into their sociocultural contexts. Then we need to boost their sense of justice, democracy, dynamism, and coordination. We need to offer a personalized education so they can have an equal amount of opportunities. And last but not least, teachers require a set of strategies so they can adapt themselves to students' needs.
Okay, well, I'm going to start by naming all the implications that inclusive schooling had. These implications came in the start of the inclusive schooling, since it had an effect on the socio-cultural context, and it generated a few different changes. I'm going to name them right now. A community in which to develop in a fair, generous, and warm environment, leaning on the support of families. A system that supports and caters to everyone's needs. No one gets left behind. A tolerant educational model where the possibility exists of discovering and developing capabilities, as well as adapting training to the conditions of each individual. The possibility of mutual enrichment. The staff evaluates the needs of everyone to adapt the teaching and provide the necessary support. Develop group activities, making sure all team members are adapting. Respecting individuality, which even promotes self-esteem. Student monitoring, which allows evaluating achievements and detecting difficulties in order to overcome them. Social educational measures to achieve the active insertion of people in the environment. And lastly, a varied team of professionals in which all staff work in unison and offer students the specific supports they need. Now, aside from all these implications, there were also some changes which were extremely important, which are the changes in educational attitudes and practices. These are as follows. Valuing diversity as an element that enriches personal and social development, a broad and flexible curriculum. Methodological approaches and pedagogy, flexible evaluation and promotion criteria and procedures. school-wide educational projects that encompass diversity and a commitment to change, parent and community involvement, and lastly, training of teachers and other professionals.
Its philosophy is not thinking only on you and I. It's based on thinking on us, taking into account that us is a community. The school is flexible on his curriculum, evaluation, and its organization of diversity. Diversity of interest, capacities, opportunities, rhythms, learning, and necessities. Diversity is methodologically focused on the student's characteristics, not only on the content. The activity of the parents is very important because they control their kids' progress, and its participation goes beyond their presence. We start saying that all students belong to a group, a community, or a team, and everyone can learn in the real life and inside the community. On these values, which refers to humanization, freedom, principle of normalization, democracy, which is based on give the same opportunities to everybody, and justice. The traditional school and the inclusive school are always arguing. The traditional school is not flexible, not pay attention to the least capable. Comprehensive training is pursued, bank education, which is a kind of education that is always trying to store big amounts of information and not understanding what they learn. Competitiveness and rivalry. Teachers' formation is only specialized on their subject. It has rigid principles, homogeneity, and a lot of racism and segregation of children who belong to different cultures. Inclusive school, it is completely different because its roots is humanist. It is very important the integral development of the child, make progress the autonomy, not only with the school and between people. Our teachers, they are always trying to learn new techniques, have new tools and methods.
The inclusive school has a curriculum that addresses diversity by observing, for example, the individual pace of its students. Also, it promotes peer support, the development of collaboration and cooperation, creativity, and it adapts the classroom. The methodology has several objectives such as divide the content in units, create different ways to explain the content, such as with visual or tactile things to facilitate the understanding, establish different ways to evaluate, with verbal or writing form, with outlines, etc. And develop cooperative learning with teamwork, for example. Finally, inclusive schools have other areas apart from those set out in the core curriculum so that learners with special needs can develop the adaptive skills needed in each area.
Strategies or measures to carry out an inclusive educational intervention. In these sections, we include all those tools and resources that help us respond and attend to the diverse needs of our students. Attention to diversity must be understood in a comprehensive way, in which educational intervention is one more dimension, but not necessarily the most urgent. All must be attended. Number 1, bear in mind the global result of education. This first strategy can be addressed by answering the question, what do students have to learn? The answer would be critical thinking, learning to learn, and interpersonal skills in cooperative structures. Number 2, develop a common curricular framework, starting from a common curriculum for all to develop individual strategies, making individual adaptation with which to meet the needs of our students. Define what we want to teach you and find the best strategies. Number 3, offer a curriculum rich in meanings, in which what is learned provides the students with an understanding of both physical and social reality, in which the learning experience is basically cooperative. Number 4, measure results individually based on the objective and satisfaction of the subject and not only the performance. This means that you can do 2 kinds. Wiggins performance test designed to measure a student's performance in a series of tasks, and number 2, a student folder, in which include the task and materials carried out by students throughout a course. You must not compare students. All have our own personal growth and progress. And finally, recognizing the strength of the hidden curriculum. We must be aware of what we are teaching or offering when we remain silent, or even when we are explaining the content that we have consciously selected.
One very important thing that we need to do is offer a meaningful curriculum. This means that we're taking care and being very cognizant of the language that we use, because the main goal is to administer every linguistic dimension through our curriculum. It is also important that we create a balance when the students are learning about reality and both physical and social aspects of the world. This can be done particularly well through making studying units and things like project-based learning. Another important thing is to measure the results of students individually based on their objectives and satisfaction, rather than simply their performance. When we're going to evaluate them, we need to look at the results that are based off of their growth in personal progress, as well as the progress of their achievements, without establishing any references or simply making comparison to their peers. A useful tool that can help us follow students' achievements would be the Wiggins performance tools. These are designed to measure the behavior of the students based on a series of tasks. Another important thing that can help us following individual work through folder-like organizers or portfolios. In them, we can include tasks and materials required for the evaluation of the student. It is also important to note that there's a lot of power in hidden curriculum. We need to be very aware of what we teach or are offering subconsciously when we're teaching the content that we previously choose. Because of each of our unique backgrounds and environments, our values are oftentimes mixed with our classes, and there we can stigmatize certain aspects of it through our expressions, postures, and the nuances of our lessons, and that's what makes each of us different teachers unique.
Trying to organize all the different aspects of their school is the main goal to achieve a student's performance, but also answer the parents' exigent needs. But that is not an easy task. How do we do that? Well, there are some principles we can follow in order to achieve that. Firstly, and obviously, schools have to adapt to a democratic model, adapting to all students' needs and backgrounds in order to adapt to their own environment. Also, they have to be able to recognize their own problems in order to resolve them through the use of mediation. Also, we cannot forget that there are some measures in order to improve the school organization, such as having a good personnel of psychologists and pedagogists that can help us and our students to grow as a whole. Something to be aware of is creativity, an essential weapon that can release all the stress of unique thinking. Thirdly, as for the teachers, they have to adapt to each and every one of their students' backgrounds in order to make an organization and a curriculum that can help them achieve their own objectives and goals. But a big thing is that the coordination between each and every one of the teachers has to be efficient, because it's their own duty to conserve the learning environment that the students are getting in the different classes. Finally, as for the students' part, we have to take into account how we are interacting with our students in order to design a good environment and a good relationship with them. As our duty as tutors, we have to take into account all the different problems that our students may have, and try to resolve them in a creative, innovative, and efficient way in order to achieve their own learning. And as always, thanks for watching.